want to assert, and I have time and again asserted this point, that there is only a belief there. There is no believer. So you are that belief, what you call you. It doesn't matter whether you believe in God or whether you believe in the assertions of the scientists or believe in the assertions that the President Bush makes time and again. I will see that Americans will have the same standard of living forever. Huh? You invest your faith in that guy. See, because he is asserting, like that. So there is no believer there. You don't have to take my word. You see, there is only a belief. You are that belief. What you call you is that belief. It doesn't matter what that belief is, whether you believe in God or whether you believe in love, whether you believe in this, that and the other. So if that belief comes to an end, you as you know yourself and as you experience yourself is coming to an end. So if that goes now, you will drop dead. At this moment, what will remain after that is not your interest, is not your concern, because you are not going to be there to tell yourself that you are dead. So those who say that you are dead and define it as clinical death use their knowledge and tell you that you are not breathing, you are not responding to the stimulus, there is no pulse. They using the knowledge and they say that you are dead. But the fact that you are dead is something which cannot be experienced by you or even by them or even by those beloved ones. What they experience is not the death of their dear, near ones, but the void created by what you call death makes it impossible for them to live the same kind of a life forever. You know? So for all practical purposes, there is no such thing as death for the body. Birth and death is a simultaneous process. The moment you are born, you have to die. You see, birth is a definition, death is a definition, health is a definition, disease is a definition. All these are definitions. We swallow all the definitions and we think that they know what they are talking about. They don't know nothing. Nothing at all. So they assert based upon what they think that they have found out through their research projects or through the beliefs that is passed on to us from generation to generation. So the assertion that there is no believer but there is only belief cannot be accepted by you. If the belief comes to an end, you will come to an end. So you cannot but replace one belief with another belief. You see, the question that people ask in the Western countries is that, you see, when once you have all that you can reasonably ask for is already there, the question arises, is that all? It is that question that created a market for all those people from the Eastern countries to come and exploit you and tell you that we have answers for your questions. They don't have any answers. See, you have everything. Is that all? That is all. Then that question does not at all arise. You know? So you are terribly bored, living day after day, same kind of a life, go and work for a living. And working becomes, I'm sorry to use that word, but that's the most effective word, a terrible bore. So you invested a thing called love. You understand? You have invested, found out, use so many words, honey bunch, sweetie pie, sugar burger, and what is that words, to get, this has become a bore, a terrible bore. I'm not saying anything against pleasure, you see. So through the help of thinking mechanism, quote unquote, we have turned that, you see, a necessary thing for the continuity of living organisms into a pleasure. So those who deny themselves that pleasure, the spiritual guys, the priests in the churches, all the holy men, all the enlightened men telling you that they are practicing celibacy. Why they have to practice celibacy? It is something that is very essential for the continuity of the living organisms. Every form of life depends upon this for their continuity, the human bodies. But are we free from superstition? Why do we swallow everything that every scientist dishes out every day? You see, we say it is scientific, but it is not so scientific. They are as dogmatic as the religious people of the bygone days. But because what science has given us, the technology, we invest tremendous faith, you see, in the scientists. Every 4 years, you see, their theories are changing. As I said the other day, their interest in trying to find out the fundamental particle is research in vain. But they will go on and on and on and on and on. They are not going to give up anyway, because of the fact that the scientist is separating himself from the universe. It is a single unit. You see, the nature and man are not two different things. As I said before, a while ago, last time, that somewhere along, you see, the evolutionary process, this self-consciousness occurred in the human species. You see, it is the thought that creates the space. As I said, thought is space. So let me give you an example. What is it that tells you that this is hard? The knowledge that it is hard is the thought, and the thought creates the space between the two and tells that this is hard. Otherwise, there is no space between the two, and there is no way that the sense of touch can tell you that this is hard and not soft. So thought is space, thought creates space, and in that space we function. So the space is something which can never be experienced by thought. It has no way of looking at itself. You see, what you see there, the very question, is there a thought, or the interest, the demand to look at thought is created by thought. So what you see there is about thought and not thought itself. What I have stumbled into is something extraordinary for me. This is not something that is born out of my thinking. See, I am not putting across a logically ascertained premise here. And I'm not thinking at all. There's no thinking involved in what I'm saying. It might come as a shock to you, if not as a surprise, that there is nobody who is talking here. And this is a puppet here. And you are pulling, you see, you are the one that is responsible, whatever is coming out of me. And so if you ask me questions about Hinduism, the techniques of meditation and what they do, I have nothing to say on that subject at all. I, in my own way, did everything, you see, that one is asked, that I was asked by my teachers. Followed everything, you see, that is there in the book. Practiced every kind of meditation and got nowhere. I discovered that, you see, it was something in the nature of a violence, you see. The goal of meditation is peace. There is already peace here. This is a tremendously peaceful living organism. And why in the name of God, why in the name of enlightenment, I am asked to meditate to reach a goal which I consider to be, you see, a silly goal, non-existent goal, through meditation, you see. So why am I meditating? What is this meditation for? That was my question, basic question. So I discovered that, you see, the goal of silence placed before me as a goal to be reached through one technique or 100 techniques of meditations, it doesn't matter, is the very one that is disturbing and destroying the silence that is already there. Whereas I discovered that, you see, the silence that was there is something in the nature of a volcano erupting, you see. So you go and stand before an ocean, the roar of ocean, go into a jungle, what do you hear? See the tremendous, you see, sound there, So that is the silence, and through meditation I am creating a dead, innate state of mind. You see, it is the mind that is involved in what is called meditation, you see. So it is interested in creating a peaceful mind. we don't realize. I'm not saying anything about what the Hindus mean by meditation. I'm not interested in that. You see, I'm not here expounding the cause of Hinduism at all. You see, what I have stumbled into, what I have discovered is something extraordinary for me. So I don't even accept that there is such a thing as a meditative state at all. You see, it is all techniques of meditations, if I may use a very, very crude word, is a sort of self-abuse. You see, it gives us, the feeling that we are putting ourselves into a state of silence, into a state of God knows what, you see. So if you practice one technique, if you see one, you have seen them all. There is no reason why we should try 100 different techniques of meditation. But the basic question which we have to ask ourselves is, why do we meditate at all? What for? I cannot defend or brush aside the ancient practice. I am not interested in that at all. You see, there is an idea that is given to us that there is such a thing as peace of mind, you see, the silent mind, that there is a void, you see, that you should not be occupied with certain thoughts and you should be preoccupied with another set of thoughts. Yes. But you are always preoccupied with something or the other. At no time. So you can say that you are not occupied with something or the other. But all your energy is wasted in choosing between two thoughts. You see, this thought, I want a peaceful thought, and the other one is a violent thought. And there is an actual battle going on between these two thoughts. And one thought that you say is a peaceful thought and the other thought is a violent thought. So what you are stuck with is a battle, a war between two things. And what you experience and call that a silent mind, or the experience of a silent mind, is the peace between two wars. And then it starts all over again. And you constantly battle with, you see, the idea that, you see, this meditation or that technique of meditation is going to put you into a peaceful state of mind. It is the mind that is responsible for the disturbance that is there. And it has invented, you see, something called a silent mind and battles with that. You see. That's all that is there. I would go one step further and say that what I have stumbled into is something that has happened despite everything I did. So the demand for permanence is the basic demand of thought. You see, it is interested in permanence. The permanence not of this living organism, but the permanence of the continuity of thought. So the body knows in a way that it is permanent. You see, not in the sense in which we know that this is permanent, that is not permanent, but that knowledge is of a peculiar kind that it knows it is permanent. So it is not interested in the idea that this is coming to an end one day, you see. So the one that is involved in this pleasure moment is the one that is asking the question, what will happen to this living organism when it dies? You see, for the body, there is no such thing as death at all. So because it has no way of experiencing the fact that it is alive at this moment and that it is dead after 60, 70, 80 or 100 years at all. The self, the soul, the spirit, and whatever you want to call it, is invented by thought. And it is that thought that is responsible for experiencing this, what we call thought, because what you call self, spirit, or soul, or whatever you want to call. I don't want to indulge in the frivolity of the root meaning of the words. You see, the Latin word, spirit is a Latin word, means breathing. So you have observed, you see, a certain individual stopped breathing. And that condition you described it as death. So the fact that you say the breathing stop, you want to know if there is anything that will continue after death. You see, it is that is interested in demanding to know what will survive this condition of the body which is called death. But can you experience your body while you are living now? You see, if one wants to know anything about death, he has to find out what is it that is there now and not wait until what we call the death takes place. So, do you have any way of experiencing the fact that you are alive today? I say no. Oh. You see, the doctor comes and examines you and tells you that this is your blood pressure, this is the temperature for your body, your heart is breathing, your blood pressure is so on and so forth. So you are alive. So you are trying to use that knowledge and experience what you call a living being. But without the help of that knowledge, which is passed on to us by observation of all these doctors, and experience and tell yourself that you are a living being. So when once you are freed from the knowledge, you have no way of experiencing that you are alive today, and there is no question of experiencing when you are dead. I think that Descartes, I studied Western philosophy, and he asked the wrong question and answered it in a very funny way. I think, therefore I am. But he never asked the question which he should have asked, the way the Indian philosophers did. If you don't think, are you there? So the basic question which we have to ask is, what is thinking and why do we think at all? If you don't think, there is still the question there, you see. The question is born out of the assumption that there is something there, and that is why he has come out with this statement, I think, therefore I am. If you don't think, where is that I am? The life energy that is there is something extraordinary, and it expresses itself in its own way. It does not know that it is alive, and when it is dead, it does not know that it is dead. I was saying the other day, the nature is interested in the human bodies only as atoms that can be used somewhere else to maintain the balance or the level of energy in this universe. I did not come into this world of my own choice, and I have no reason, you see, to quit this world. When the time comes, when the body wears down, and when the nature needs these atoms somewhere else, then what we call death takes place. Death is nothing but for this body and in nature. Reshuffling of, you see, the atoms, and when they are needed, the body goes. It wears itself out. It may be possible for me to keep this body going through genetic engineering or some other things that we have at our disposal to keep this body going longer and longer. But what for? What is there to hope for? What? You see, the moment you use the question how, the whole thing comes into the picture. You see, how and hope are one and the same. We constantly ask this question, how, to get an answer and to know more and more and more. You see, how to shape our lives, how to change our lives, how to be at peace with ourselves, how to live in a peaceful world, how to live in harmony with the world and with the people around us. But that how is born out of the hope that somehow, some way, you can know how you can change the whole thing. So the moment the how springs up there, the hope goes with it. There is no how. What I want to emphasize and spotlight and focus is a very simple thing. That we are all puppets, you see. And that what is it that is pulling these puppets and play this drama? You call it thought sphere, you call it culture, you call it the
fancy phrase, I use it as genetic, morphogenetic field. It really doesn't matter. What I'm trying to emphasize or put across is one basic thing, that there is no individual there at all. There is no individual mind there. You and I have been created by culture, by society, for the simple reason that that is a self-perpetuating mechanism, and it is interested in perpetuating that, maintaining its continuity. So there is nothing here, there is no individual there. The very demand to be an individual is baseless, is false. This is all that is there. The world cannot be anything different, because you being what you are, how can you expect the world to be different? We are all the time preparing for war, and how can you envisage the possibility of a peace on this planet? You know, flag is here. The flag represents what? As long as I wave my flag here so long, I cannot talk of peace, because the other chappie also is waving his flag. So how do you reconcile this situation? Preparing for war all the time and talk of peace. Peace is not something that will descend upon us. I don't think you can fit my statements into either this side or the other side. You see, people say that you are very negative, and all right, you are not negative, you are not pessimistic, you are very optimistic. What does it really mean? An optimistic individual is pushing things. You see, he is using his will, he is using his effort, and he is living in the hope somehow that we will turn this into a paradise and all of us will live in comfort and peace. So what you don't seem to realize is the very idea of creating heaven on this earth is the one that has turned the whole thing into hell. Actually, it is not hell. If we are lucky enough to be freed from all those utopias, the whole idea of a heaven, this will itself will become an extraordinary place to live in. What we have to do is to free ourselves from the whole value system without replacing that value system with another set of value system. That would be a wonderful place to live. The way the animals are functioning. You see, they don't kill anything for an idea. You see, so they have to survive. One form of life lives on another form of life. That's what we are doing all the time. But you see, if you kill something for any reason other than survival, we are creating this disharmony in this world. I'm not suggesting that there is something that you can do to free yourself from. You are already free. And what creates this demand to be free is the one that this has to free itself from. You see, this expresses itself in an extraordinary way, you know. This is something which you cannot even think of creating, but unfortunately, where have we gone wrong? Where have we failed? That's a very natural question for us to ask. Somewhere along the line it occurred in the process of evolution, especially in the human species, what we call self-consciousness. So that separated us from the totality of life around us. Actually, it is one single unit in the whole thing. But this self-consciousness separated us from everything. And it is that is responsible for creating, you see, the whole religious thinking of man. Forgetting that we have created all those things, God, truth, reality, or whatever you want to call it, only as an extension of pleasure. This is a perfect piece of creation, and our value system makes it believe that something is wrong with it, you see. So we superimpose on that all our ideations and meditations and destroy what is something extraordinary that is already there.
What I am emphasizing is that the demand to bring about a change in ourselves is the cause of our suffering. I may say that there is nothing there to be changed. And the revolutionary teachers come and tell us there must be something to bring about, there is something there in which you have to bring about a radical revolution. And we assume that there is such a thing as a soul, that there is such a thing as a spirit, that there is such a thing as I. What I assert all the time is that I haven't found anything like I there, any center there, any self there, any soul there. This question haunted me all through my life. And suddenly it hit me that there is no self to realize what the hell you have been doing all the time. That hits you like, you see, lightning, When once that hits you, the whole mechanism of the body that is controlled by this thought is shattered. And what is left with is the tremendous living organism with an intelligence of its own. And what you are left with is the pulse, the beat and throb of life. That's all that is there. And there must be something more. And we have to do some things to become part of the whole thing. These questions have arisen because of our assumption that we have been created for a grander purpose other than this species on this planet. That's the fundamental mistake we made, the culture made, in assuming and believing that we are different, that we are made for a different purpose other than the life around us, and that the whole creation is for the benefit of man. So that demand to use nature for our purposes has created all these ecological problems. It's not such an easy thing for us to deal with these problems. We may have reached a point where there is no way of going back. You may say that I'm a pessimist again, but the point is that probably we have arrived at a point where there is no way of going back. And what is the fate of mankind? What is one to do? Anything that is born out of thought is destructive in its nature. That is why I very often say in all my conversations, in all my interviews, that thought in its birth, in its nature, in its expression and in its action, fascist. So the thought is interested in protecting itself, and it is always creating frontiers around it, and it wants to protect the frontiers.
Understand what I am saying. Exactly the way the words are put in, they come out. It's just a computer. No different from that computer. The only difference, if there is any, between that computer and this computer is that there is no selectivity in that computer. There is no censorship in that computer. And the human computer, if a question is thrown at this computer, it doesn't say such. It doesn't say. And it doesn't say that the data is not found in the data bank or your memory bank or whatever phrases you use. If there is no answer to the question which you are throwing at, it doesn't even say it is silent. You see, no movement of any kind here at all. So the movement is possible only if there is any information, you see, that is there, put in by, you see, your culture, your society, or whatever you want to call it. So otherwise, it comes exactly in the same way. That is why I tell many of those computer people who come to see me, the moment you put selectivity and censorship in the computers, their usefulness is finished. It will be like the human thinking mechanism, see. So it selects, and then here it is no selectivity. The selectivity
is created by your culture. You see, censorship also is created by your culture. It is put in there by the society. Other than that, there is no way you can choose anything, select anything, and there is no question of censorship, you see, here at all. It is just listening to everything without knowing what he is listening to, you see. I don't think, Bob, very difficult for me. It's like a tape recorder. It is recording everything. The recording mechanism does not know that it is recording anything, does not know that it is spoken in a particular language. In exactly the same way, whether you say things in Russian, German, or English, or any language for that matter, it is just listening to that without the listener. It's not translating that at all. And in exactly the same way, all the other senses also operate here, you know. And you have never in your life looked at anything, Bob, probably as a newborn baby. Even the newborn baby does not look at anything. If anybody who has raised children knows that the babies cannot focus on anything for some months. You see, then only they start focusing on things. So you can't look at anything. You have never looked at anything in your life without knowing what you are looking at. Bob, you got it? So if you can look without knowing what you are looking at, you can force yourself. Because I am making a statement that it is not possible for you to look at anything without knowing what you are looking at. You can force yourself to look at that without knowing what you are looking at. You will be choked to death. Don't try that at all, you see. You are not going to succeed. So don't apply this, you see, to this statement of mine to the living situations in your life. You are looking at, you see, your wife. If you don't know what you are looking at, that's the end of the whole story for you. I'm telling you. So it doesn't mean anything, you see, to the listener. If you say that is your daughter, this is your wife, that is your husband, it is just a word. It doesn't mean anything. So if you want to know what it means, you see what the dictionary meaning has there, you see, that's all. It comes very slowly. So no relationship is established between the word at all. You see, what does it mean? The wife, the husband, you see, it doesn't mean anything, table, chair. It's all right. You can sit here and discuss everlastingly that the word is not the thing. The word is the thing. You see, you can say the word is not the thing. So the image-making structure has got to be there. What that means, that word means, how you build an image around that word is very important for you, you know. So if I turn that side, the whole thing, the picture of that man sitting right in front of me, whom I have known for 32 years, completely and totally wiped out and erased. There is no way I can create how my friend Bob looks like. Impossible for me, you see. So the image-making structure is very important. What is that word you are using, friend? What does it mean? What is the relationship you have between you and friend? That is the image-making structure. How he looks like, I will never know, you know. So if I say that he is wearing a blue shirt and then blue jeans, what does that word blue mean? It doesn't mean anything to me. You understand? So if you ask me, is that blue or red, I would say that it is blue, because I am taught that that is blue. I am taught that the sky is blue. But the physical eye does not look at that as blue. You see, the physical eye cannot see the depth of anything. So all that nonsense they talk about, the depth has no meaning. The physical eye looks like the way you look at the photo there. You see, there is no depth there. So the third dimension, fourth dimension, all those scientists are talking about is absolute gibberish bullshit.
So it is the opinion of somebody. You see that we either have to reject or accept. You know, whenever I am in a show like this, or whenever the journalists come to interview me, or those people like psychologists and scientists who are curious to meet me, when there is a dialogue like this or a conversation like this, we always come to a point when that person says that is your point of view, forgetting that what he is saying also is his point of view. So we find ourselves in a situation where we have to use logic, rationality, and logic is power. You see, you are more logical than I am. And whoever made that statement that man is a rational being did not know what he was saying. We cannot take pride and call ourselves rationalists because everything we are doing cannot easily be fitted into the framework of what you call a rational human being. All our actions are irrational. So when you read all these syndicated journalists dishing out their opinions and what they call the analysis, or whether it is on the television or radio, there is no guarantee that the things will happen that way. We have invested our faith that they know what they are talking about. But you can't be sure. You can never be sure. So we do not know the source of theirs. There is no such thing as originality as far as I am concerned, because we are not honest enough, or perhaps we do not know the source. One of these days the computers will tell us the source of our knowledge, our information. We will feel proud that it is our originality. There is no such thing as originality at all. There is no such thing, and I'm making very dogmatic assertive statements. Probably you will dub it as very arrogant. But the creativity that we are all talking about, creative learning, creative literature, creative music, is not really creative because we are not honest enough to admit that we are copying something that is already there. Only life is creative. Life does not use anything as a model. When once it has perfected something, it brushes it aside and it starts all over again. So that is why I maintain that we have placed before ourselves, whether we have accepted it or not, whether we are fighting against what the society, culture, or whatever you want to call it, has placed before us, the model of a perfect being. That perfect being is the model of the great spiritual teachers of mankind. But nature is creating a perfect species, so there is a tremendous battle between what nature is trying to do, what life is trying to do, is to create a perfect species and not a perfect being. So everybody is forced to use thought, which is fascist in its nature, to fit ourselves into that framework. So all our energy is wasted in trying to fit ourselves into the framework created by the society, because the society does not want to change.